Welcome back guys to another video. My name is Jacob and in today's video we're going to learn how to use comparatives and superlatives and how to emphasize them, how to zdůraznit them. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, welcome back. So today we're learning comparatives and superlatives. This means big, bigger, the biggest, or interesting, more interesting, the most interesting. There's an easy rule with how to use comparatives and superlatives. If it's a one syllable, one slabika word, like big, then we do it like this. Big, bigger, the biggest. Or tall, like tall, taller, the tallest. Or fat, fat, fatter, the fattest. So when it's a one-syllable word, we always use and the est. Big, bigger, the biggest. But if we have a two or more syllable word, like interesting, has 4 syllables, we use more and the most. So we would say interesting, more interesting, the most interesting. Or another one would be beautiful. Beautiful, more beautiful, the most beautiful. And always remember to say the most. So if it's one syllable, we use and the est. Big, bigger, the biggest. And if it's 2 or more syllables, we use more and the most. Beautiful, more beautiful, the most beautiful. So a little bit of practice. If you wanted to say silný, silnější, and nejsilnější, how would we say that in English? So silný is strong, which is one syllable, one slabika. So we will use and the est. Strong, stronger, the strongest. But how would it work for boring? Nudný. How would you say nudný, víc nudný, nejvíc nudný? So boring is 2 syllables. So we will use more and the most. So we say boring, more boring, the most boring. And one more example, how would it work with sexy? Is it sexy, more sexy, the most sexy? Or sexy, sexier, the sexiest? So this is actually quite interesting that in English, if you have an adjective that ends with y, like sexy or funny, it can actually work both ways. We can use either way. We can say sexy, more sexy, the most sexy, or we can say sexy, sexier, the sexiest. So it's completely impossible to be wrong. You will always be right, and you can choose which one sounds better for you. So with funny, that also ends with a y, so you can say funny, more funny, the most funny, or funny, funnier, the funniest. So to finish off this video, guys, let's learn how to emphasize, how to zdůraznit the comparatives and the superlatives. So if we have big, bigger, the biggest, how do we emphasize bigger? How do I say o dost větší? So in English, we have 2 words to emphasize comparatives. We can say much or way. So we can say much bigger or way bigger. And much sounds like this, and way sounds a little bit more. So you can say that party was much bigger than I expected, or that party was way bigger than I expected. So you just put the words much or way in front of the comparative. So it's big, bigger, and then we say much bigger or way bigger. And the same if you have a 2 or more syllable word, like interesting. Interesting, more interesting is the comparative, and then we add much or way at the beginning. Much more interesting or way more interesting. Now, a very common Czech mistake is saying things like, it was much more bigger than I expected. This is completely wrong because big is a 1-syllable word. So we have big, bigger. There's no more. And then we use much to emphasize, much bigger. We only have more with these 2-syllable words or more, like interesting, more interesting. And then we add much to the beginning, much more interesting. So you cannot say things like much more better, because good is 1 syllable, so it's good, better. And then we add much or way, much better, way better. There should be no more there. Okay, and lastly, how do we emphasize the superlatives, the biggest, or the most interesting? So to emphasize these words, we use by far. This is something like zdaleka. So we can say zdaleka největší. In English would be by far the biggest. So again, you just put it at the beginning of the word. So big, bigger, the biggest, and then we add by far the biggest. Or with interesting, we say interesting, more interesting, the most interesting, and then we add by far to the beginning. By far the most interesting. Now, by far is very nice because you can put it at the beginning or at the end. You can say, it was by far the biggest party of the year, or you can say, it was the biggest party of the year by far. So it's a bit more flexible. Alright guys, so that's how we make comparatives and superlatives in English. If it's a one-syllable word, we use and the est, big, bigger, the biggest. If it's two or more syllables, we use more and the most. Interesting, more interesting, the most interesting. Adjectives that end with y can work both ways, like sexy. You can say sexy, more sexy, the most sexy, or sexy, sexier, the sexiest. And to emphasize comparatives, we use much or way, much bigger, way bigger, and we use by far with the superlative, by far the biggest. So I hope you liked that topic, guys. If you were watching one of our free videos on YouTube, then thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future videos. And if you would like to learn more things like this, you can check out our full video courses on speaklikeme.cz that take you from 0 to 100 in English, teaching you everything you need to know, all explained for Czech people. And you can check out our vocab app if you would like to learn a bunch of words and phrases that I know you probably don't know, but you should know. And if you would like some listening practice, you can check out our podcast for some advanced English conversations, learning some cool new words, and fixing some Chinglish in each episode. The links for everything are in the description for this video, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.